DDO has just announced the countdown. Let's immediately go to the green panel on our screen. Make sure all is good, David.
Yes, for the time being, everything continues to be green, so we're still go for launch.
And now we are 42 seconds from the ignition. So this is the moment we've been all waiting for. Let's watch, let's cross fingers, and let's enjoy the show, because it's always incredible.
Yes.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
There goes those cryo
3,
arms.
2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain.
There we go.
Allumage
drop.
développé, décollage.
There it goes.
Propulsion nominale, tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux. Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
Well, we have just seen Ariane 5 disappear into space. Do stay with us, everyone, because what's going to happen next is as crucial as the launch.
Trajectoire
This is,
nominale.
of course, the moment when the two satellites, GSAT-24 and MEASAT-3d,
Well,
are
I
placed
think
into
really
orbit.
took off. They kept. Oh,
David,
there's the video.
you're our
though.
space expert tonight. Ariane 5 still has a long way to travel before the separation of the two satellites. Where and when will this happen? And how many kilometers away from the launch site?
Yes, we're not quite there yet, yes. MEASAT-3d, we will separate from the launcher in about 30 minutes, 1,200
Propulsion nominale,
kilometers
trajectoire
out
nominale.
of Kenya. And GSAT-24 will separate about 10 minutes later above the Pacific Ocean, about 38,800 kilometers.
I imagine that everything is minutely calculated and programmed so that the satellites find their position themselves. So what can you tell me, David, is the role of the team in Kourou at this stage?
Yes, indeed, as I said, everything is controlled by the onboard computer on the launcher.
Trajectoire conforme à
The
l'attendu.
team in
Trajectoire
Kourou,
nominale.
this is what we are hearing right now. They are receiving data from the launcher through the tracking stations, and they are checking that everything is going according to what was foreseen.
Well, I'm just focusing on those images, incredible
That's
images.
incredible.
We're just watching. So it was really impressive. And it's really nice night.
Yes, it's
It's so
clear
clear.
skies.
Just before the satellites find their
Nominal.
fun. I'm interrupted because we
We
hear
are
DDO.
hearing-
Everything is okay.
Yes.
Before the satellites find their position in orbit,
believe that is-
36,000 kilometers above our heads,
Yeah, base
David,
separation.
what should we be focusing on?
So right now,
Yeah.
yes, we
Séparation
just
EAP.
had the separation of the boosters.
Yeah, we can see it.
Which
It's
have finished
incredible.
their
images.
jobs.
Incredible.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have very good images tonight. We have.
That's the
apparently
first
very
time we
clear
see it
skies.
so clearly.
The
That's
first time,
incredible.
it really is.
Yeah, that is.
So the launcher is
else.
at an altitude
Tous les
of
paramètres à
about
bord sont
70
normaux,
kilometers
trajectoire
and
nominale.
traveling about 7,000 kilometers per hour right now.
We will also. We've just heard the DDO has announced the fairing separation.
Yes. So
Why we don't need it anymore?
now the launcher has now reached an altitude around 110 kilometers where the atmosphere is really thin, and therefore we get rid of the fairing, which was there to protect the satellites from the atmosphere and from the liftoff.
So it's not already done. I'm confused. It's not already done. It will happen.
It should happen shortly, yes.
It will happen shortly. And you have
An earpiece.
an earpiece, and so
Yes.
you're directly connected to Kourou. So you
Séparation
have.
coiffe.
There we go.
Yeah. There we go.
There we go. Well, for all of you who've just joined us on Road to Space, the Ariane 5 rocket has just left the Guyana Space Center in Kourou 3 minutes ago. And tonight we have two very special passengers on board, one from MEASAT, Malaysia's first satellite operator, and the second one from New Space India Limited, which is a public enterprise under the Indian Ministry of Space.
And in 20 minutes, FMEASAT-3d will be the first released into space. David, can you tell us a bit more about its future position?
La propulsion est nominale.
Yes, so FMEASAT-3d will be in geostationary position, 36,000 kilometers above the Earth. The satellite will be fixed with respect to the ground, as I explained before. And so it will be in what we call the 91.5 degree east orbital slot, which if you look at a world map, you will see that 91.5 degree longitude east is over the Indian Ocean, about 1,000 kilometers from Kuala Lumpur. So it will be in a perfect position to serve Malaysia and Southeast Asia.
Okay, FMEASAT-3d is part of the FMEASAT family. We had FMEASAT 1, 2, and 3A, launched all by Ariane Space in 1996 and 2014. It's a long-time partnership between the client and Ariane Space.
Yes, indeed. Ariane Space has had a very strong relationship with the Asia-Pacific region for years, for decades. And FMEASAT and Malaysia are indeed very important customers to us, yes.
FMEASAT-3d and GSAT-24 are still continuing their journey into space on board Ariane 5. Let's now have a look at the screen and some incredible images we have of today's liftoff from the Guyana Space Center, which happened just a couple of minutes ago. I'm going to ask you, David, probably to comment on them.
Yeah. So we can see on the screen what we have, because we don't have this replay right now, but we have on the right. So this is the 3D images.
Yeah, so this is the situation of the launcher right now with the main stage that is functioning right now, and that will continue to function for a few minutes, yes.
And for the people that are watching us, all the information they see on the low part of the screen. What is this?
So yes, you have there the altitude of the launcher at this time. So you see it's about 160 kilometers. The distance from the launch pad, which is about 700 kilometers, and the speed, which right now is getting close to 5 kilometers per second, yes.
Well, we'll see the replay later on in the program, but Ariane 5 will have a long flight tonight, as I said before. Together we will follow all the different stages together until the separation of both satellites and the acquisition of FMEASAT-3d in approximately 45 minutes. Earlier we mentioned this flight was the first of the year for Ariane 5. So David, how many flights does Ariane 5 approximately make per year?
Well, in past years, Ariane 5 has flown on average 6 times per year. Of course, with the recent COVID crisis, the launch rate has decreased, and we had 3 launches in 2020 and 3 more in 2021, thanks, by the way, to the big effort of all the teams in this difficult situation.
Of course, Ariane 5 is not the only rocket to take off from the Guyana Space Center every year. How many rockets take off from Kourou annually?
Well, in recent years, again, with COVID, we have had about 7 launches per year. But before that, we had as many as 11 or 12 launches per year.
Wow, okay. Well, when it comes to large spaceports, there are often different advantages relating to both the site and the location. But what about Kourou? Why is it one of the most efficient and effective launch sites in the world?
Well, with its location, which is very close to the equator, Kourou offers the launchers an extra push when going to space, when going towards the east, thanks to the rotation of the Earth. So this is a great advantage when going into geostationary orbit, like it is the case today. This push, together with the low inclination orbits that can be reached, is a great advantage for the customers because they will use less fuel to go into orbit. And also the geography makes it possible to launch towards the north, towards the east. So all kinds of orbits are possible to be reached from Kourou.
Okay, and David, while you were explaining us, we hear the DDO announcing Natal acquisition. Just a word about that, please.
Yes, so Natal, as you see on the screen, is a tracking station that is located in the east of Brazil. And so this is the tracking station that is now receiving the information from the launcher. Again, as we move east, different tracking stations will follow the launcher along the way.
And so at the time we are talking, the rocket in the sky does not look anything like the one we saw leaving Kourou 8 minutes ago. It has now separated from the main core stage. Can you explain us what it means?
Yes, so the DDO just announced, yes, the fact that the main stage has been separated. And he just announced that the upper stage engine has been ignited.
Brilliant.
So yeah, as we go along, of course, and the stages are used up, the propellant is used up, the stages are separated. Right now, the launcher configuration that you see on the screen is about 30 tons, to be compared to the 775 tons that we had at the time of liftoff.
Quite incredible.
So the higher you go, the
lighter it will be.
The lighter you get. We just hear the loss of Galliot signal, if I'm right. I'm just looking. We lost Galliot signal. What does it mean? Does it mean the rocket is out of sight, out of ear, out of connection?
With Kourou, yes, that's right. Galliot is the tracking station in Kourou. And of course, as we move towards the east, at some point, we are no longer visible from Kourou. But again, this is not an issue because we have other tracking stations along the way that will continue to follow the launcher.
Okay, we'll comment all those different stages. But if you want now, we have a replay of the launch. So if you're okay, we're going to watch again those images. It's always incredible. And tonight, I precise, it's really an amazing night.
It was
It's an incredible. So let's watch these images. We will probably have them.
Here we go.
Well, yeah, here it comes.
Yeah, so here
That's
is
the Vulcan
the
ignition.
main engine ignition just before the boosters are ignited and then the launcher lifts off. It's indeed a very impressive sight. A lot of power, more than 1,500 tons of thrust. And in a few seconds, the launcher reaches the speed of sound. So yes, it's always a very
Tous les
powerful
paramètres à
sight.
bord sont normaux. Propulsion nominale.
Okay, so in roughly 15 minutes, our first satellite, FMEASAT-3d, will separate from Ariane 5. But as you know, the rocket still has a very long way to go before it gets to this point. So David, I have a question for you. How fast is the rocket presently traveling? It looks like it's going very fast. And what altitude as well?
Yeah, so right now we are, the launcher and the satellites are traveling at a bit more than 7 kilometers per second, and they are at about 150 kilometers. And yes, they will continue to accelerate for some minutes to reach the right velocity before separation.
Well, as Baptiste said, we lost the Galliot signal and we're about to lose Natal. Let's see, what time is it here?
Yes, we will be losing Natal shortly.
And connecting
No,
a few seconds after, a few minutes after
a few
connecting to
seconds
Ascension.
after with Ascension, yeah. We may have a short period of a few seconds where there will be no connection with a station, but this is not an issue because all the data will be recorded on the launcher and then downloaded as soon as we get to Ascension.
And let's focus 1 second more on those images that are incredible. And if I remember well, we will see shortly the separation of the booster. We had those images live. It was incredible. We saw the EAP separating.
Yes, that's right, yes.
It was a first, really was.
Yeah, that's incredible.
We can see them sometimes, but it's true that tonight it was particularly clear.
De Natal, trou télémesure attendu.
Okay. We just heard trou télémesure attendu, which means
We are expecting to have...
Réacquisition de la télémesure
Oh, there we go.
par la station d'Ascension.
So
so those little seconds,
there were few seconds,
few
yes.
seconds.
It was
no
really
connection.
very short, yes.
David, I'd just like to bring up something that caught my eye, which we haven't talked about for the moment. The logo of the city of Bordeaux, which appears on the rocket's fairing. What can you tell us about this?
Yes, indeed, Bordeaux is part of a community of Ariane cities, which is an organization gathering all the cities around Europe where the Ariane launchers are manufactured and built. And this is the reason they are taking a ride on the launcher tonight. Indeed, Ariane Group and many other companies in the Bordeaux area are building some of the major elements of Ariane 5.
So the
DDO
aerospace
is-
sector is most certainly one of the areas of excellence of the French city of Bordeaux and its metropole. Let's now have a look at behind the scene.
Yeah, my
It's a
favorite.
short report from our journalist Mélanie Prévost, and then David will continue to talk with you.
Propulsion nominale.
Did you know that the city of Bordeaux is known worldwide not only for its relaxed lifestyle, its gastronomy, and its great wines, but also for the historical role it's played in the aeronautics and space industry? 7 of the largest groups in the sector have been based here for years, among them Ariane Group. In Bordeaux Métropole, Ariane Group is present on 3 sites, in Le Haillon, Saint-Médard-Issac et Saint-Médard-Centre.
Ariane nous fait rêver. L'espace est un rêve. Mais l'espace, ce n'est pas qu'un rêve, c'est aussi une industrie. Et évidemment, Ariane Group y trouve toute sa place. 3000 salariés quand même ici, dans un ensemble de l'aéroparc de presque 50 000. Donc c'est une industrie très puissante, une des plus puissantes du pays.
It is also the leading employer in the aeronautics and aerospace sector in the Nouvelle-Aquitaine region.
L'ancrage territorial d'Ariane Group est un atout. Notre société accorde une attention particulière au développement de sa chaîne de sous-traitance et d'approvisionnement en Nouvelle-Aquitaine. Nous travaillons avec 300 partenaires et startups dans la région, ce qui représente un chiffre d'affaires de l'ordre de 62 millions d'euros.
One of the assets of Bordeaux Métropole is its Operation Bordeaux Aeroparc Metropolitan, which enables the development of the strategic area and makes it more attractive. An area of 3,400 hectares where some 300 companies in the sector are located, creating more than 20,000 jobs, which translates into 42% of the jobs in the aeropark. Thanks to technological innovations, Bordeaux Métropole hopes to fulfill its mission in decarbonizing its territory.
Ariane Group, c'est aussi une promesse. C'est une promesse d'une activité industrielle qui sera décarbonée. Je sais qu'Ariane Group travaille beaucoup sur de nouvelles motorisations, y compris sur l'hydrogène. D'ores et déjà, c'est déjà une réalité. Et tout ça, finalement, ça fait partie de la vitrine aussi de Bordeaux Métropole.
Here, the aeronautics and space sector has been a field of excellence for years. This is why Bordeaux Métropole is committed to its involvement in the Community of Ariane Cities, or CVA. This association brings together the major European cities that play a role in the manufacture of the Ariane launcher. Among them, Bordeaux Métropole has been chosen to take the presidency of the CVA in 2020 and also 2021.
En tant qu'industriel majeur de la filière aérospatiale dans la région, nous sommes fiers du soutien et du parrainage de Bordeaux Métropole au sein de la communauté des villes Ariane en 2020 et en 2021. Nous allons désormais continuer à soutenir le développement économique dans la métropole bordelaise pour attirer à l'avenir le maximum de talents, femmes et hommes, dans ce secteur passionnant.
And Bordeaux Métropole is already at the heart of the manufacturing process for the new generation of Ariane 6 and Vega C launchers. In Le Haillon, Ariane Group employees are working with the help of some of the most powerful robots in the world. This is where the nozzles for the P120C solid rocket motors that will equip the new Ariane launcher are manufactured. These solid rocket boosters, essential sub-assemblies of which are integrated not far from there, in Saint-Médard, must give the launcher the power it needs to break free from the Earth's gravity. Today, Bordeaux Métropole and Ariane Group are continuing to strengthen their partnership for the development of the region and are already preparing the space of tomorrow together.
So on October 11th, Bordeaux Métropole will hold its second Aeronautics Summit, an event gathering leaders of the sector, politicals, researchers, entrepreneurs, and investors. They will meet to affirm their progress in terms of ecological transition. So David, what about space? How do we protect environment in space?
Yes, it's clear that in particular with the arrival of very large constellations in low Earth orbit, everyone has to play the game and they have to everybody has to follow international regulations and make sure that all elements are deorbited at the end of their lifetime.
And so Ariane Space has already demonstrated a responsible attitude towards space debris. Concretely, what are they doing?
Yeah, so Ariane Space became one of the first companies to sign the Net Zero Space Charter, which is designed to reduce the debris in orbit by 2030 and to foster more sustainable use of space. On our launchers, we have demonstrated this responsible attitude with the upper stages for Vega, for Soyuz, and soon for Ariane 6. The upper stages are deorbited when launching to low Earth orbits. On Ariane 5, the upper stage performs maneuvers at the end of its mission to reduce the perigee and the apogee, and this helps to reduce the time it remains in orbit.
Okay, we will talk a little bit later in Road to Space about Ariane 6. Just the word, how the new launcher is more sustainable.
Yeah, so the upper stage of Ariane 6 has a reignition capability that will allow it to clear the operational orbits. So most of the time by deorbiting it, or by transferring it to a safe graveyard orbit.
Okay. The European Space Agency recently named a startup, ClearSpace, in charge of the world's very first mission to demonstrate how to remove large space debris starting in the 2025. Do you think that they will pave the way to a new market involving the deorbiting of space debris?
Yes, it's clear that the sustainability of space, it will require, on the one hand, for all the actors to play the game and to follow the rules and to follow regulations to avoid adding additional debris. And on the other hand, it will require missions like the one that ClearSpace will perform to go and catch debris in orbit, which represent a risk. So Ariane Space, of course, is ready to provide the launch services for these kind of missions to go and get some debris in orbit.
Okay, so Ariane 5 is now on its way. It still has a long way to go before FMEASAT-3d and GSAT-24 separate from the launcher. In the meantime, let's have a look at some questions we receive on the social network. David, we have a question for you tonight. This one comes from, it appears just behind us. Laetitia, how long did it take to build Ariane 5?
Yeah, so building Ariane 5, it starts way back, roughly 3 years before the launch, when the first pieces of metal, the first screws are built. And progressively, more and more complex systems are assembled, leading to the manufacturing and the assembly of the stages that are then shipped to French Guiana. And finally, it takes about 6 weeks in Kourou to do the final assembly and to integrate the satellites for the launch.
So once all those different elements of the rocket have been built over Europe, how are they transported to Kourou?
Well,
by boat, I guess.
Yes, in the end by boat. All the elements are transported first by road or by river boat to several main harbors around Europe, in France, in the Netherlands, in Italy. And from there, Ariane Space has 2 boats that go across the Atlantic and that transfer all the stages for the launches.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Well, we are now less than 6 minutes away from the separation of the first satellites. And of course, we'll be going live to the Jupiter room in Kourou. Just before, let's find out about the latest development on Ariane 6. We will have some images, and same job for you. Can you comment, please, all those images?
Yeah, so these images are from January this year. So we have in this boat the 2 first Ariane 6 liquid propellant stages that arrived at the European spaceport. This arrival meant it was the beginning of what we call the combined test. So for the first time, Ariane 6 launcher components will meet the launch pad in order to test both of them together in real-life conditions, including firing of the main engine of the launcher. So after a short road trip, the containers arrived in this building, the Ariane 6 brand new launcher assembly building. This building is completely different from the one that's used for Ariane 5 today, because Ariane 5 is assembled vertically, while Ariane 6 is assembled horizontally. Right now, the launcher that will be used for this combined test is being assembled in this building. And a few hundred meters away, you can see the launch pad with its huge mobile gantry. Here, tests have been performed as well using a launcher mock-up, you see in the images. And all the propellant system has been tested, including the large cryogenic arms that you see here. They will open a few moments before liftoff of Ariane 6. And we have similar, this is for the upper stage, and on the lower stage there's similar systems that you see here that are protected by these metal boxes.
Well, if you've been following us, you'll know that Ariane 5 lifted off 23 minutes ago from the European Space Centre in Kourou. So we're now very close to the first separation. In less than 5 minutes, MEASAT-3d will be put into geostationary transfer orbit to reach an altitude of 36,000 kilometers.
Thank you. And now let's concentrate on what is happening next. David, I'm sure you have some additional information to give us.
Yes, so in a few seconds, we're very close to the end of the upper stage. The upper stage engine should shut down shortly, meaning that the targeted orbit has been reached. And so after that, there will be a series of maneuvers that will begin to prepare for the release of the upper passenger.
Well, I don't know what they're saying in your earpiece, but we were about to lose Libreville. Yes, we lost Libreville.
Yes, as you see on the world map, we are, let's say, somewhere halfway across Africa, and therefore we have lost connection with the first station, which was in Libreville in Gabon. Yes.
And before the next stage of tonight's flight, which is the separation of MEASAT-3d, we now have an exclusive interview with Daniel Neuschwinder, the Director of Space Transportation. Let's take a look.
So Ariane 6, we are having a heavy summer ahead of us with a lot of challenges. Two main milestones will certainly be on the one side, the hot firing test of the new upper stage on the new test bench in Lampolzhausen, Germany. And the second key milestone will be the combined test starting here in Kourou. On ELA-4, we will have the full launcher on the pad, and we are all eager to look to that. Through the summer, we will consolidate a number of additional milestones, which will bring us to end September. And end September, we will, of course, be in a position to have more confidence and consolidate our planning towards the maiden flight and ramp up of Ariane 6. Regarding the ESA Ministerial Council at the end of the year, we have two top priorities from the STS side. On the one side, Ariane 6 and Vega C market introduction, which will need also enhanced performances. For that, we will go with a proposal to our member states to increase the performance of the P120C+, and combined for Ariane 6 with an increase of the thrust level of Vinci, and of course, all the accompanying programs to Ariane 6 and Vega C. The other top priorities is really the preparation of the future. We need an ambitious preparation of the future. We have to take challenges. For these challenges, we want to ensure growth and competitiveness. And for that, we are having the preparation of the future with FLPP, and on the other side, the commercial space transportation services with the Boost program. And as we speak, the teams are working hard towards the preparation of the Vega C first flight, and this is now our next step, so we stay focused.
Well, so now it's time to go back and to stick to live, because we are a few minutes away from MEASAT-3d separation from Ariane 5. David, what news do you have from Kourou about this first separation that is about to happen?
Yes, it should happen in a few seconds. The launcher has now finished the maneuvers to give MEASAT-3d the correct orientation. And yes, in a few seconds, we should have the confirmation of the separation.
Which is a really important step.
It is indeed a very important step, yes.
Well, let me remind you all that MEASAT is the premium supplier of communication and video services to leading broadcasters, direct-to-home platforms, and telecom operators in Malaysia.
MEASAT-3d.
There we go. We have now the confirmation.
Yeah, that's perfect. And so you were telling the
Separation of
separation.
FMEASAT-3d is one
Le
of the
paramètre
most
aborde son normaux.
important stages of tonight's flight, isn't it, guys? Another one is when the satellite links up to the operator, and MEASAT will be looking forward to this momentous moment. Oh, they are clapping, where they can finally celebrate the end of the mission. David, for the moment, all the teams in Kourou seem to, there's thumbs up, they seem to be very happy.
Yes, but indeed it's a very good moment for MEASAT, but the mission is not over yet.
And this is why we see in the Jupiter room, if you have people clapping, but most of the people, most of the others are not.
All. They're very serious.
Staying focused.
Yes, so the launcher now will do a few maneuvers to release the SILDA, the level launch structure, and then after that it will do some additional maneuvers to release the second passenger today, GSAT-24.
Well, the DDO has confirmed the separation of the SILDA. We are now 10 minutes away from the second separation, GSAT-24. No.
Séparation SILDA, système de lancement double, Ariane.
I have information you don't
Yeah,
have.
you
No,
can.
I'm
He
kidding.
has his only little earpiece.
I was confused. I was confusing. Yeah, so now we have this confirmation.
Yes.
So, which means we are 10 minutes away from the second separation, GSAT-24, a first demon-driven communication satellite mission undertaken by the New Space India Limited. So all teams, as we said, in Kourou remain focused. Among them, we have the CVI. Who are they? What role do they play in the mission? Let's watch. I'm not asking you the question. Let's watch this report.
Je m'appelle Justine, j'ai 26 ans et ça fait 3 ans que je travaille chez Ariane Espace maintenant. Et je suis ingénieure en analyse de mission et responsable CVI. Donc CVI, c'est un peu vague, ça veut dire contrôle visuel immédiat.
Je m'appelle Massimiliano, je suis le chef du service sauvegarde-vol au CNES, au Centre spatial guyanais.
Le cœur du métier, c'est pendant le lancement où on doit décrire le plus précisément possible le comportement du lanceur pour informer nos collègues et les clients. Et l'élément le plus important, c'est d'annoncer la séparation du satellite, parce que forcément c'est un moment essentiel, tout le monde applaudit. Et ensuite, tout de suite après, dès que possible, de fournir donc l'orbite d'injection au client qui est l'élément clé pour le satellite. Donc, comme on surveille le lanceur, on va être en Guyane, au plus proche des moyens de télémesure, donc du suivi du lanceur.
Sauvegarde-vol, nous on s'occupe du lanceur dès le décollage pour s'assurer qu'il ne devient jamais dangereux pour les populations et pour les biens. Donc on surveille la trajectoire du lanceur et si besoin, on peut être amené à détruire le lanceur avant qu'il puisse être en danger pour les personnes.
Côté CNES, donc Massimiliano, ils doivent protéger les populations. Donc c'est un monde totalement différent, mais finalement, comme le nôtre, ils doivent surveiller le lanceur en temps réel. Mon moment préféré, c'est le décompte final. Vous savez, quand on a 10, 9, 8, nous, on est là, on attend. Et au décollage, c'est là où on va commencer à parler. Et là, il y a un débit de folie, il y a un coup d'adrénaline.
Moi, j'ai fait des études en tant qu'ingénieur aérospatial. Il n'y a pas d'école pour devenir un responsable sauvegarde-vol ou pour faire de la sauvegarde. Pour être un CVI, il faut entre 3 et 6 mois de formation. Et c'est une formation qui comprend une partie théorique et aussi une partie pratique avec des rejeux de vol qui ont été un peu modifiés pour faire apparaître des anomalies pour que la CVI puisse s'entraîner. On a une grosse responsabilité. Donc, il faut des personnes qui sachent gérer le stress. Il faut être très rigoureux. C'est quelque chose qui est très motivant. Je pense que ça donne un sens de responsabilité, d'importance à ce qu'on fait.
Non mais on est vraiment obligé d'en parler. Une ou deux fois, ça m'est arrivé d'oublier de couper le micro pendant la phase de préparation où on racontait des blagues pour détendre l'atmosphère. C'était assez gênant. D'un seul coup, tous les téléphones de la salle se sont mis à sonner et tout le monde m'a appelé pour me dire « Justine, ton micro, il est ouvert !» Nous, on arrive 1h30, 2h avant le lancement pour être en place. Donc oui, toute cette phase d'attente, en fait, le stress, il va augmenter au fur et à mesure jusqu'au décompte final. Donc c'est important de trouver des moyens de décompresser. Donc on discute, on fait connaissance avec les équipes qu'on ne voit pas souvent, on raconte des blagues.
Les lancements de James Webb, le télescope James Webb, qui a marqué le spatial mondial et en particulier le Centre spatial guyanais et l'équipe Sauvegarde-Vol parce qu'on a participé à ces lancements historiques. L'espace, c'est quand même quelque chose qui me passionne depuis la petite enfance. Donc, j'ai eu la chance de voir un lancement quelques semaines, 15 jours après mon arrivée en Guyane.
Il faut croire en vous et il faut essayer. Il n'y a pas assez de femmes dans les domaines scientifiques, il n'y a pas assez de femmes dans le spatial. Et voilà, je pense qu'il ne faut pas se donner de barrières et il faut penser à ce qu'on veut faire et pas à ce qu'on ne peut pas faire. Et voilà, le seul moyen de savoir, c'est d'essayer.
And so, David, I guess we could say hello to Justine. She's talking to you, and we saw her in the report.
That's right.
David, I'm glad to see that there are women like Justine working in important positions within the space industry. It looks like we need some more, but let's get back to our mission in hand. Can you confirm now the injection orbit of the first satellite, David?
Yes, at this point, the CVI team has the information from the launcher on the exact injection orbit, and this information will be provided to our customer to facilitate the first connection that the satellite will establish with its ground stations.
Well, thank you, David. So we're waiting for this moment with MEASAT to celebrate the success of the mission. Meanwhile, we have a couple of questions from you on the social network related to tonight's flight. And we have this one from Elon Muscles. It's a different one. The question is, blah, blah, blah. So I give you a sum up. When can we consider the mission of an Ariane 5 rocket to be over?
Yes, for our customers, Ariane 5 mission is over once the satellites have been released from the launcher in the targeted orbit. So this is what just happened for MEASAT. However, for us at Arianespace, the mission continues a bit after releasing the satellites. We use the remaining propellants on the tanks to reduce the altitude of the orbit as much as possible. And then we depressurize the tanks to make sure there is no problem. And we basically turn down all the power and all the systems on the launcher. Basically, we shut everything down in a safe way.
I have a question for you, David. You spoke earlier about both satellites being launched into a geostationary transfer orbit. We talk a lot about geostationary position, which we all know is, 36,000 kilometers above our heads. But what is the difference between the two?
Yes, so yes, indeed, the launcher is putting the satellites into what we call a GTO, a geostationary transfer orbit. This orbit is an ellipse with a low point at 250 kilometers above the Earth and a high point at 36,000 kilometers above the Earth, so the geostationary altitude. And so when the satellite reaches this high point of the ellipse, it will use its own engines to accelerate and to avoid falling back to 250 kilometers. And so this acceleration will be sufficient to stay at 36,000 kilometers all the time. So it will, at that point, be in geostationary orbit.
Okay, David, you explained us before the first satellite is released above Kenya, more or less, and the second one above the Indian Ocean. So what's the launcher speed at this time?
At the time of the release of the satellite, the first one, MEASAT-3d, it was about 9 kilometers per second. And as we climb up, the velocity decreases and the separation of GSAT will take place with a velocity around 7.3 kilometers per second.
I have something, because we've been talking before Road to Space tonight, and you explained me, we can compare this, me throwing a ball.
Yes, that's right. You can compare it to your hand could be the rocket.
The rocket, yeah.
And so when you release the ball, this is what happens when you release the satellites. Your hand stops pushing the ball, the rocket stops pushing the satellites, but the satellites continue moving up, and this is how they will move up to these 36,000 kilometers, which is the apogee of the orbit.
Okay.
A great comparison. Thank you, David. Well, we are now less than 2 minutes away from the separation of GSAT-24, the Indian satellite manufactured by ISRO. So if we look up at the screen, what information is it giving us, David? Flight info, speed, altitude, height. Can you
Yes.
say that everything is normal?
Yes, right now everything is normal. The launcher is doing its last maneuvers to put GSAT-24 in the right orientation for the release. So we are now about 3,500 kilometers above the Indian Ocean, just not very far from India, and with a speed of, yes, close to 7.3 kilometers per second.
So does this separation signal the end of the mission? That's what we want to know.
Well, this separation will be the last operation performed by the launcher, but as I said before, after that we will wait for the confirmation of the acquisition of a signal from the customer.
And at what time will this happen?
Well, this should happen about 10 to 12 minutes after the separation of GSAT-24.
So all the teams we are waiting, they are waiting patiently in Kourou. They must be on tender hooks. This is a huge moment for them.
Yeah,
With
we're seconds away from
GSAT-24.
the second separation.
Just waiting for Raymond Boyce, the
Yes.
DDO.
We have the confirmation that, yes, as you see in the images, the launcher has finished the maneuvers, and therefore the separation will happen shortly.
So you have the confirmation yet? Because I'm waiting now until the
Séparation
There we go.
GSAT.
Oh,
There's the
brilliant.
information.
Oh,
Great, and
let's
within this
find
period,
out.
that was a launch of an Ariane 5 with GSAT-3d and GSAT-24.
This is a great